I am going to share a wonderful and funny story titled The Lion, the Mouse and the Sleepy Bear. Before we begin, look at these pictures. Have you ever heard someone snoring very loudly? How did you feel? Well, today we will find out what happened when a little mouse cannot sleep because of a giant neighbor. Are you ready? I can't hear you. Are you ready? Yeah, let's go. The winter is over. The summer has arrived. The bear refused to wake up and continues snoring loudly. The mouse is exhausted from lack of sleep.
Once upon a time, in a lush green forest, there lived a small and energetic mouse. Right next to his home, there was a huge dark cave belonging to a big bear. Now, this big bear had gone into hibernation months ago during the winter. But even though winter was over, the bear was still fast asleep, snoring incredibly loudly. The poor little mouse could not sleep all winter because of this noisy snoring.
The mouse's first attempt is shouting at the bear. The mouse's second attempt is blowing a bugle horn vigorously. And the result is the bear stays fast asleep.
One sunny day, he decided he had had enough. He walked up to the big bear and shouted,
Mr. Bear! Hey, Mr. Bear! Summer has come! You can wake up anytime now!
The next day, the little mouse came back. But this time, he brought a bright bugle horn. He took a deep breath and blew vigorously into the bugle. Yet, the bear just turned around.
The animal friend suggests asking the lion because of his powerful roar. The mouse is terrified but brave enough to visit the lion's cave.
Feeling completely exhausted, the little mouse wandered into the forest. He met his animal friends. They asked him,
What happened, little mouse? Don't ask, guys. All winter, I could not sleep because the bear's snoring.
His friend thought for a moment and suggested,
Maybe the lion can help you.
The mouse gasped.
What? Why will I talk to him?
His friend replied,
Because the lion roars so loudly that everyone jumps up the instant they hear his voice.
Even though the little mouse was terrified of the king of the forest, he knew he needed a good night's sleep. So, he gathered his courage and walked toward the lion's cave.
The mouse accidentally woke up the lion by stepping on a branch. The lion scorned the mouse. You're not even snake size. The lion refused to help a useless creature.
Seeing the huge, powerful beast, the little mouse got scared. He turned around to run away. But, crack! He accidentally stepped on a dry branch. The noise woke the big cat up instantly. The lion looked around fiercely and growled. What's that noise? What are you doing in front of my cave? The little mouse began to tremble in fear. In a tiny voice, he said,
Well, King of the Forest, sorry to wake you up. I came to ask for your help.
The lion looked down at the tiny creatures and laughed arrogantly. You're not even big enough to be considered a snake size, little mouse. The mouse pleaded.
Dear fearsome lion, you have to wake up my neighbor, the big bear. He won't wake up from hibernation and nothing I do works. Since I am small, I have a tiny voice, but one loud roar from you can solve everything.
The lion scoffed. I don't have time to spend on a tiny little useless mouse like you.
The lion walks away but starts itching like crazy. He is covered in tiny, annoying fleas. He hides because he is embarrassed to look silly as the king of the forest.
The lion walked over to a quiet corner where he thought no one could see him. Suddenly, he leaned against a tree and started itching like crazy. He was scratching his back, his ears, and looking completely ridiculous. He didn't want anyone to see him because he was the proud king of the forest. Meanwhile, the little mouse was walking home sadly when he heard strange whistling and groaning sound coming from the depth of the forest. The mouse followed the sound and found the lion itching himself non-stop. As soon as the lion saw the mouse, he stopped scratching and tried to look normal, but he was clearly in pain and discomfort. The mouse asked,
Mr. Lion, what happened to you?
The lion groaned. I don't know, mouse. I can't stop itching myself. You haven't seen or heard anything. Clear?
The mouse discovered the lion scratching and groaning. Despite the lion's initial rudeness, the mouse bravely offers help and clears all the fleas.
The little mouse looked closely with his ear-sharp eyes and saw a swarm of tiny fleas jumping all over the lion's thick fur.
Oh, you have fleas. Let me help you.
The mouse offered. The lion snapped. How can you help me? You're just a little mouse. Leave me alone. But our little mouse was brave. Ignoring the lion's rude words, he jumped right onto the lion's back. What are you doing? Get off of me, roared the lion. The mouse began to crawl through the thick, scruffy fur, picking and throwing out the fleas one by one. However, this made the itch even worse.
The mouse picked out the fleas from the thick fur. The lion scratches against trees, jumped into a lake, and shook violently. The mouse survived the chaos and cleared all the fleas.
At first, the lion started scratching wildly with his massive paws. He rubbed his back against a tree trunk. Scratch, scratch, scratch. The mouse cried.
Oh no, I was almost crushed. Please stop.
In desperation, the lion ran toward a nearby lake and jumped straight into the water. The poor mouse almost drowned.
Mr. Lion, get out of the water right away or I'll drown.
The mouse coughed. The lion scrambled out of the lake and began to shake himself dry incredibly fast. The mouse had to hang on for dear life to the toothless lion's fur.
I've almost got the itch taken care, Mr. Lion. Just a little bit more to the left,
cheered the mouse. Finally, the lion stopped shaking and the mouse threw away the very last flea.
How do you feel now?
Asked the mouse. The lion looked surprised. Well, it's like my itching is completely gone. The mouse smiled.
That's because I cleaned all of the fleas for you, sir.
Finally, the lion felt relief from the stretch from his back and felt embarrassed from his past arrogance. The lion apologized and thanks to the mouse. He offered the mouse a ride home on his back.
The mighty lion felt extremely embarrassed about how rude he had been. He looked down softly and said, When you asked for help, I looked down on you, mouse. But you still did everything in your power to save me from this difficult situation. Thank you. Come on, hop on my back, and I'll take you home. When they arrived at the mouse house, they could hear the familiar loud snoring echoing from the cave next door.
They returned to the cave and the lion let out a massive roar. The bear jumped up startled, confused if someone has arrived. All the forest animals laughed at the silly bear.
The lion walked inside, took a deep breath, and let out the most powerful ground-shaking roar right into the sleepy bear's ears. Roar! The stone floor shook, and the giant bear jumped up in a panic, running out of the cave. What happened? Is something wrong? Did the sun come up? Oh, is it summer? Where is it? The bear shouted in confusion. All the forest animals gathered around and laughed out loud at the big silly bear. And as for our little mouse, he was the happiest animal in the forest because the loud snoring was finally over and he had made a great, powerful friend.
The end! So, the moral values of this story: size does not determine your worth or capability. Do good to those who treat you poorly, because kindness can change heart. Bye!
Once upon a time, deep in the rolling green countryside of Old England, there lived a poor widow and her only son, Jack. Their life was incredibly hard. They lived in a tiny, drafty cottage with a leaking wooden roof, and their entire survival depended on just one asset, an old gentle dairy cow named Milky White. Every day, Milky White gave them fresh milk, which Jack sold at the village market to buy bread. But one tragic morning, Milky White grew too old and her milk ran completely dry. Jack's mother looked at the empty bucket and wiped a tear from her eye and said, "Oh Jack, our beloved cow can no longer support us. You must take her to the market town today and sell her to someone kind. If you fail to get a good price for her, my boy, we will surely starve this winter." Jack felt a heavy lump in his throat. He wrapped a cord around Milky's white neck, patted her soft head, and began the long, dusty, emotional walk to the market town. Halfway down the dusty road, Jack met a strange, mysterious old man wearing a long velvet cloak that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. The old man stopped, looked at the cow, and whispered, "Good day, young Jack. Where are you leading that fine animal on this hot morning?" Jack sighed and replied, "I am taking her to the market to sell her for gold, sir." The old man smiled and reached deep into his velvet pocket and pulled out 5 strange glowing metallic green beans. "Look closely, Jack," the man whispered. "These are no ordinary beans. They are magic. If you give me your cow, I will give you these 5 magic beans. Plant them tonight, and by tomorrow morning you will witness a miracle." Jack, captivated by the mysterious glow and the promise of magic, handed over the rope and took the beans. Jack was filled with excitement. He sprinted all the way home, bursting through the door, crying out, "Mother, mother, look what I have brought us! We are saved!" His mother ran over, expecting to see a heavy purse filled with silver or gold coins. But when Jack opened his palm to reveal 5 small, dry green beans, her face turned pale with shock and then bright red with absolute fury. "You foolish boy!" she screamed, her voice shaking. "You traded our only source of survival for 5 useless garden beans!" She snatched the beans, flung them violently out the window into the garden. Jack lay awake in his dark bedroom, listening to the howling night wind, feeling the deep ache of hunger and guilt in his belly. Eventually, he fell into a heavy sleep. But while Jack slept, a miracle was happening outside. Beneath the cold moonlit soil, the 5 magic beans took root. They began to twist, expand, and grow. Thick, heavy green vines broke through the dirt, spreading as wide as a house. The stalk shot upward like a massive emerald tower. It grew past Jack's window, past the tallest oak trees, past the clouds, climbing higher and higher. A colossal green beanstalk stood in his garden, its giant leaves looking like steps leading straight into the sky. Driven by pure curiosity, Jack stepped onto the vine and began to climb. He climbed and he climbed and he climbed. His hands gripped the rough bark, his feet stepping firmly. He climbed past the eagles, past the mountain tops, until the village below looked like a tiny speck of dust. Finally, he broke through the thick, misty layer of clouds and stepped onto a strange stone highway in the sky. Jack walked down the road until he reached a fortress so immense, a castle built for a giant. He slipped quietly underneath the massive gap at the bottom of the front door and stepped into an enormous kitchen. The tables looked like mountains, the chairs like skyscrapers. Suddenly, The entire castle began to violently shake. Tum, tum, tum. The dishes in the cupboard rattled. The floorboards groaned. The heavy door swung open, and in walked a terrifying colossal giant, dragging a massive wooden club. He sniffed the air aggressively, throwing his head back. Fee, fee, fo, fum! I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread. His wife, busy by the stove, waved her hand. Nonsense, husband! You are imagining things. It is just the scent of the fresh mutton I cooked for your breakfast. Sit down and eat. The giant grumbled, sat down, and ate the entire roasted cow. When he was done, he pulled out a magical hand from an iron chest. He slammed it on the table and demanded, "Lay!" Jack picked out from the lid and watched as the hand shivered and laid a perfect, gleaming, solid golden egg. The giant smiled evilly, counting his gold until his heavy eyes closed, and he fell into a deep sleep, snoring like a thunderstorm. Jack knew this was his only chance. He crept silently out of the copper pot, tiptoed across the massive table, grabbed the magic hand, and ran for the door. But a few weeks later, after his family had used the gold, Jack's curiosity brought him back up the beanstalk. This time, he snuck in to find the giant's second treasure, a magnificent golden harp that played beautiful music all by itself. As the harp played a soft melody, the giant nodded off to sleep. Jack slipped from behind the bread box, snatched the golden harp, and turned to run. But the harp was magical and alive. It cried out in a loud, clear voice, "Master! Master! Help me! A thief is stealing me!" The giant's eyes snapped wide open. He let out a deafening roar of pure fury, grabbed his wooden club, and lunged at Jack. Jack didn't look back. He sprinted faster than he ever had in his entire life, clutching the screaming harp tightly to his chest. He reached the edge of the clouds and leaped onto the beanstalk, sliding down so fast his hands burned against the vine. Above him, the giant began climbing down, making the entire beanstalk sway wildly into the vine. Jack hit the ground in his garden and screamed, "Mother! Mother! Bring the axe! Quick!" His mother rushed out with a heavy iron axe. Jack grabbed it, took a deep breath, and chopped right into the center of the magic beanstalk. Crack! The vine snapped. The massive beanstalk toppled over, crashing down across the hills, and the greedy giant fell from the sky, disappearing forever into the earth. Jack and his mother were finally safe, wealthy, and they lived in peace and happiness from that day forward.